Greetings, people of Earth. I'm Rick Harold. Thanks for watching my video and podcast. Today I'm talking about SQL DS on a Commodore. So this is my Commodore. I've showed it before. The original one. Back in 1983, I was working at IBM on System R, which I didn't really know when I got there what that was. At school, in college at Northwestern, you talked about databases, but it wasn't relational database stuff quite yet. That was not as big yet, but relational databases, as we all know, became giant. That's kind of changing now, but still, back then it was the beginning of it. And IBM had a product called System R. I was working on it as an application user of it, and we used it internally. And it was like super cool from my point of view. So naturally, after I would work my normal day, I'd go home, get my Commodore out. Among the many things I would do, I started writing and creating a relational database on the Commodore. Anybody who's ever worked on this would realize that's a huge challenge. And forget about getting into the theory of relational databases. I was originally just doing it because it was fun, but I was able to create a table-based SQL language minus a lot of stuff. For instance, you couldn't do joins between tables. Commodore 64 didn't exactly have a hard drive. You had this floppy drive, and all this stuff really stunk. But at the time, it was still cool to me. It was a struggle just trying to do the programming because it was done in BASIC. So it was something I was, again, proud of. So it's something I've always liked to talk about, especially with the technical people. I'm sure that's the people listening to this part. And it was something that at the time was really big. So as this progressed, I looked out into the world, and it wasn't as easy to do back then. There was no internet or anything, and I saw Oracle, and I also saw SQL Gupta. I think it was called SQL Base. I don't remember now. Probably should look it up. But the Gupta DB, and he originally I think had worked at IBM and Oracle, was going to be big. That was going to be a big thing because it was on Windows. And that was an area where I was also starting to get into PC programming eventually off the Commodore because the Commodore is just too limited. And the PC had extensibility and you could expand it and put cards in it and all kinds of other stuff. And I'd contacted the Gupta Corporation and originally talking about the Commodore, and I was a 20-year-old kid, so I'm kind of dumb, but I didn't get anywhere. Eventually I had to go back to college because I was co-oping at IBM, and I got distracted with normal college things, went on to get my master's, and kind of went a different direction. But database has always been kind of fascinating to me. When I did do the expert system, which I've talked about before in a different video, part of that is having a database that you have to access information. That's one of the things I did in the rule engine part. But this was a cool area, and it was an area that I could have clearly gone off into database stuff. And as you'll know, through the open source databases of many varieties that exist today, and that are now supported on cloud platforms with a pre-built in terms of like images that you can just use. There's lots of different kind of databases, the key store value ones, which are really replacing a lot of the relational ones for many reasons, and that's a whole nother discussion. But it would have been a great area for me to be in. I really liked the area. The path I took didn't happen to go that direction. I'm happy with it. It's fine. But it's interesting just to see the path these things go. Another side note, many years later, our company was bought and then was subsequently sold to another company, Thoma Bravo, who buys lots of different software companies. They'd actually purchased, and earlier I think, I don't remember the timing now, Gupta had worked at another company. And so I thought it was just kind of funny when Keystone or Keyline or something like that, the paths had kind of crossed again, even though he probably wasn't aware of it. But I noticed it because it was interesting. I had not seen his name in a while because the Gupta database thing had kind of disappeared. It was really big for a while, and it had a lot of problems. So that's a little bit about my SQL DS on a Commodore 64. Thanks again for listening, and take it easy.